give me a few minutes to share an activity that I've been working on for the last, almost a year. And I've started having my students working on as well. Sorry, some screen size issues. So I've been having my students work with something called the Zooniverse this year. And the Zooniverse is a collection of real science projects where the researchers need regular people to help them classify their data. This is data, so this is called citizen science. It's essentially crowdsourcing scientific research. Between the researchers and their grad students, they just don't have enough hours that they can spend to finish their research projects. For all of these projects, the human brain is way better than computer programs at analyzing the data and reaching the research goals. And one of the best parts is it only takes a few minutes to register and figure out what to do to start classifying. The first project that I became aware of is one called Planet Hunters.
This is just a reminder that anybody taking CPR should be downstairs under 133. That's the media center. When you're walking in the front door, it is directly ahead of you by moving to the left. So come on down if you are registered for CPR and not currently in that room. Thank you.
So I was watching an astronomy public lecture last year about exoplanets, planets found in other solar systems. And the person giving the talk referenced that there are these exoplanets found by regular people. And she mentioned this Planet Hunters site. So that was my introduction. And the way that this one works is all these data points refer to the light output of a star. I think there's about 40,000 stars in this patch of sky that this telescope is trained on. And if something goes in front of the star, we're going to get less light from that star. So we see a dip here. They never look this nice, but we see a dip here. And one of the likely explanations is that there was a planet in front of the star. The x-axis here is time, and each data is collected every 20 minutes. So for this one, you analyze these light curves and try and identify exoplanet transiting. Last year in class, I did show my students that site when I was teaching them about the Doppler effect, which is a major curricular objective for introductory physics. The Doppler effect is not involved with this method of exoplanet detection, but it's like the other way that we find exoplanets. So I just showed them this, and then that motivated one of my intro classes last year to outclassify me. They apparently had just finished a research project in one of their other classes, and they all registered just to have more classifications than they knew that I had, because they showed them my profile, right? I didn't even know that until this year. They told me that, Mr. Pincus, we classified 300 light curves. I didn't know until a year later that they did that to beat me. But that's going to come back in a minute or two. I also did have a student last year and continuing into this year doing her IB extended essay using data from Planet Hunters. So she is trying to find a relationship between the period of eclipsing binaries and the magnitude of the change in how much light is giving off. So this one, we have 2 stars that are orbiting each other. Most solar systems do have 2 or 3 stars. Our 1-star solar system is an exception to that. We see a major dip when the dimmer star goes in front of the brighter one, and then we see a minor dip when the dimmer star goes behind the brighter one. Most of the time they're kind of next to each other. So I do have a student doing research from this available data. This year I decided to take a different route in having my students involved with these projects. In maybe the 2nd or 3rd day of school, I gave them the whole list of projects. There's about 24, 25 active projects on this site. And I let them vote on which one they'd be most interested in doing some work on. I didn't really tell them what we were going to do with it. But there were about 5 or 6 that got a lot of votes. The one that got the most was one called Galaxy Zoo, where you look at an image of a galaxy. Most of them are taken by the Sloan Digital Sky Survey, which is a land-based telescope, but there are some Hubble images in here as well. And then you get an image of a galaxy. The one in the middle, you're asked a number of questions essentially about the morphology of the galaxy. I didn't really know, and so what did I ask them to do? I said, you don't have to do any classifications, but we're going to have a competition between all of my classes, and whoever has the most classifications per student, we're going to have a party. And I may or may not have alluded to whatever individual does the most would get some sort of prize, I don't remember. I didn't know what to expect. I kind of thought a good goal might be 10,000 classifications. That could look nice in a little newspaper article. And last weekend was the first time I had them reporting back to me. and we had about 9,000 classifications in week 1. Again, they didn't have to do any. They do get a small homework assignment just for sending me the screenshot that shows me what they did, but they could get full credit for that with 0 classifications. I think the most I had was 1,800 classifications by a junior, and then I had 800 by a sophomore. Now, the results are still coming in for week 2. They were actually due at 6:30 this morning, but I think there was some confusion about if it was due today or not, since we have no school. So there's about 9,000 in week 1. We're at about 35,000 in week 2.
Seemingly more.
Way more. And I didn't, like the 9,000, I thought that was huge, and I didn't know what that was going to do to week 2. I didn't know if that was going to demotivate students. We're like, oh, I only did 50 and Kelly did 1,800. I'm not even going to bother. But it seemed to not have that effect. Of course, Kelly, instead of 1,800, did 9,000. And then the number 2 student, instead of 900, did 20,000. Wait, was it 20 or 18? Something over 10,000. Which is just amazing. So obviously somebody's going to get a party. The Zooniverse people that run this site are excited about this, and they don't even know what the data is. I just contacted them before we even started, and they're going to send like mugs and like frisbees and whatever. But I also want to have a video conference with a researcher from this project, which they're totally going to set up. So that's what I've done with it. I'm sure that there are a lot of opportunities that you guys can use either inside your curricula or outside of your curricula. So I tried to put together some ideas for you. I didn't care which project my students picked to work on. I mean, I teach them science. Sure, it's physics, but I teach them science. I don't care if they do a biology one. That's great if they want to participate in a biology one for 4 weeks. But some ideas that do link to what some of you teach. So here and at Allied, there is a project involving analyzing real cancer data, which might be directly involved with your curricula. For MAST, there are a bunch. There's one where you are able to track hurricane strength, and you can even pick one particular storm and track it throughout its migration. There's one called Seafloor Explorer, where there's a camera that just takes pictures of the seafloor, and you need to identify how many scallops are in the picture, how many fish are in the picture, how many, what else, crustaceans are in the picture. Communications, high tech, I don't know. I couldn't come up with a great thematic fit, but maybe there's one there I didn't know about. In terms of subject area, there are a number of other biology ones besides the cancer data one. The newest one is about classifying plankton. There is a snapshot Serengeti one where you're looking at photographs from camera traps in the Serengeti. There are some other bio ones as well. For physics, in addition to the exoplanet hunting one, there is one on gravitational lensing. Chemistry, again, I don't think there's a great fit with any of the current projects, but there are new projects every few months. One of the things I think is really cool about these is for some of these images, for some of these data sets, like you're seeing something that nobody has looked at before. And for me, that just is really cool. If I'm looking at an image of a galaxy that maybe nobody has seen before, that's some incentive for me to look at some other galaxies. There have been some major discoveries made by regular citizens, and like they're given credit. Like on all the papers that are published, at least from the Planet Hunters one, like they'll include the first like 10 citizens that identified that thing as co-authors on the paper. So there's some really cool aspects to these. Now, if we do adopt the next generation science standards, there are already embedded links to that for some of these sites. There is an education portal called zooteach.org, so that's something that we might revisit next year should New Jersey adopt that. So I just want to share with you guys what I've done with this. I don't know if we had time for, if anybody had questions.
Yeah. How long does it take for a student to like classify one galaxy?
Yeah, so for the galaxy classification, it could be, if there's really not much there, it might take as quick as like 5 seconds. It could take as long as 30 seconds once you're used to it. For the first few, it might take quite a bit longer because you might have to click on help and then compare it to some other images. But once you've done 100, it should only take 5 seconds to 30 seconds. That's still like 10 hours for the 10,000.
I know where you're going.
It's still about 10 hours for the students that are doing like a ton.
Are you getting full participation from your students? Or
So in the first week, I I think it was 86% of the students did at least 10 classifications.
And you can track that, or they had to email you
So
that they...
what I'm having them do is they're emailing me a screenshot of their profile embedded in an email, so I don't have to open an attachment or anything.
Okay.
So between opening that, putting a grade into my gradebook, and then updating my spreadsheet, it probably takes about 8 to 10 seconds per student for me to manage that. So it's manageable for right now. It's really exciting, and I'm like glad to spend a few chunks of my weekend like doing that. But you know, once the excitement waxes for me, maybe on Monday I would do it and then update it on Tuesday.
So the person who's classified over 10,000
Yeah.
is not sending you 10,000 screenshots?
No, one screenshot per week. Right.
Oh.
Right. So at least for that,
Okay,
for
and then their profile.
for the
is
Galaxy Zoo
updated by the-
site,
right.
you can click on your profile, it tells you how many classifications
Gotcha.
you've done
I
right.
understand.
And then, yeah.
Very cool.
Anything else right now? All right. So thank you guys for
Thank
listening.
you. Thank you.
All right.